Hello everyone and welcome to my banlist wishlist for June 2025 World Championship 2025 qualifiers. This is certainly one of the formats of all time, and if we're being real, there's only really two decks worth taking a look at. Shad, which is the de facto best deck of this format, and Utopia, the runner-up. Let's start with Shad. I've already made a video in which I complained about Shad 2 weeks ago or so, and my gripes with the deck are still basically the same. Which is to say, it is a deck that has been made hyper consistent thanks to a really powerful skill, and which has really strong combo potential thanks to the strength of its cards. It's incredibly funny to me that El Shad Construct is not a once per turn card in any way, shape or form. Oh joy! Some people have suggested consistency hits to Shad, like what if you put this card and this card to limited 3, so that Shad don't open them as frequently as they do anymore. But I don't think these really make sense, because the skill just allows you to search for anything that you'd like, and El Shad Construct just allows you to send anything that you'd like. So if we can hit a deck's consistency, what do we do now? Well, the answer is simple. We fix the deck's ceiling in order to reduce its overall power. Here's how we can do so. Option A, just ban Winda. El Shad Winda is one of the worst designed card of all times. It is an archetypal floodgate that is incredibly easy to access and incredibly annoying to get rid of. In fact, Winda's existence is one of the key reasons behind Shad's dominance and one of the main reasons a lot of decks have been taken out of the tier list entirely. Combo decks just can't go second into Winda, that's a thing. In that regard, there are two possible solutions. Solution number 1, you just remove Winda from the skill and call it a day. Or solution number 2, which is a bit more extreme, you remove every bonus Shad put to the extra deck thanks to this skill, including Winda. This would be a significant change to Shad and a huge nerf, because the average Shad extra deck doesn't contain more than like 4 Shad fusions and everything else is just link good stuff. So Shad players would have to make a choice between running the less than optimal Shad fusions like Grista and Shekinaga and playing good stuff like Nightmares, IP Masquerena and Underworld Goddess. Additionally, this will remove Super Polymerization as a Saki one-off counterplay card that you can respond to from the deck, which I think is personally a good thing. Of course, we can't go on without mentioning the other Shad skill that Shad got with this new update, Shadow Weaving Story, which also puts 6 Shad monsters with different names to your extra deck. But if you compare it to Reign of Shadows, you can see how much more powerful one is compared to the other. Here's what Reign of Shadows allows you to do. It puts 3 red Shad engraved for you to use as disruption or anti-disruption. It allows you to search for any Shad card, and if you go second, you even get to put a Shad on the field which you can flip for basically free. In comparison, here's what Shadow Weaving Story is doing. It's a switcheroo if you go first, and if you go second, instead of drawing a random card, you get the Shad that you want. Wow! With all that in mind, I think I'm perfectly okay with the weaker skill having access to Winda as compensation for being much less powerful, and I don't think the super consistency fixing skill of Reign of Shad should also have access to a really oppressive floodgate. So that was option A, ban Winda and or remove every Shad extra deck monster put there with the skill. Here's option B, a couple of key limit ones to reduce the deck's power. So I did just discuss how consistent he hits, which is basically say putting some cards to limit 3 or limit 2 wouldn't make any sense because the skill and Shad Construct just allow you to search for any card or dump any card that you'd like, but I still think a couple of key hits are possible with the deck. For instance, putting El Shad Constructed Wand alongside Shad Schism sounds a bit extreme, but I think is also necessary in order to force Shad players to make a choice between a card that allows a really annoying fusions every turn and the card that allows really long and powerful combos every turn. What's funny is this change would also remove Super Poly from Shad lists, which I really hate this card. I really don't want to see this card being played anywhere. I don't care if it's not searchable. This card isn't fair. This card isn't fun to face. So yeah, these are my suggested changes for Shad. Hopefully Konami gives them a little bit more than just a slap on the wrist nerf, because this deck is incredibly oppressive at the moment. Now let's talk about Utopia, everyone's favorite deck this format. Utopia also has a really powerful consistency fixing skill just like Shadow's, but there are a couple of key differences here. First of which is, you need to put one card back from your hand into the deck in order to activate the skill effects, which can be an advantage sometimes. The deck runs a couple of garnets that you don't want to open, Double or Nothing, Pegasus Twin Saber, but it also means that advantage-wise, this skill isn't really great. You don't get to really plus all that much, even though you're searching all of the combo pieces that you need in order to pop off and do the same linear turn every single game that you play with this deck. Fortunately, this means that there is one very easy nerf you can bring to this skill in order to make it a little less obscene. You ready for this? Bam! If you make it so your opponent can only search one monster while activating the skill, you make this deck so much less consistent because you need to open several pieces in order to get your optimal turn 1 end board, which in turn means that you have to run 3 copies of all the starters just to avoid bricking. It might be a bit much, but it is a consistency enough worth considering. I'm so tired of every playable deck in Duel Links getting near perfect consistency. What happened to the good old days of breaking? What happened to the good old days of not opening optimally and having to adapt your combo? That doesn't happen anymore in Duel Links. Kinda miss that. Of course, it's not the only way to address the deck's power. Once again, we can also take a look at its ceiling. Some people have suggesting putting Ultimate Leo at 1. It used to be a card that you can only get at 1, by the way, and was much less annoying back then. Alternatively, you can also put Pegasus Twin Saber and Number Protection both at 1 in order to force Utopia players to choose between the powerful counter trap on Negate that can be taken care of with MST, and the unintuitive monster negate that beats even Forbidden Droplet. I'm personally more of a fan of the latter change. I don't think it's fair or fun for Utopia to just get so many negates, even in Duel Links in 2025. I don't think that makes for fun or interesting game. So yeah, these are my nerf suggestions for Utopia. Either you change the skill in order to reduce its consistency, which would be significant, or you put a couple of cards, well, 2 cards very precisely, to limit 1, in order to reduce the deck's ceiling. Enough talking about speed duels for the time being, let's take a look at how Rush Duel is doing. Oh. Well, this format's doom, isn't it? And that'll be it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. I do hope that you appreciated it. If you did, make sure to like, comment something nice, and subscribe if you haven't already. Additionally, if you'd like to support me further, you can check out my Ko-fi in the video description, where you can make a one-time donation or a monthly pledge. I would like to thank the Ko-fi donators whose names now appear on the screen: Dingus, Towdish Boy Zero, Jimmy, Zinnia, Yannick, Sile, Mark Lu, Fortune16, The Abyss Actor Guru, Orc Price, and Exorcist. Thank you all for the support. And yeah, that's it. That's the Duel Links video for this format. Hopefully things get better. Probably not though. Thank you all for watching once again. Take care everyone. I will see you all next time.